Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
No, I don't have it in me.
No.
I'm exhausted.
Huh?
I am.
Yeah, you've been out today.
I've been out today, I've been out yesterday and out the day before. So, yeah, about 30 Ks all up in the last 3 days.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I've got blisters on my feet and yeah. Sorry, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, I have seen Moonfall, Roland Emmerich's
Roland Emmerich's
latest directorial vehicle. And it was mediocre.
It really was. It was average. I mean, you go into a Roland Emmerich cataclysmic disaster type movie expecting certain things, certain boxes to be ticked. And, yeah, it was...
So someone will be redeemed and shortly thereafter die.
There will be a divorced couple and kids involved and parents will be separated from their kids and then there will be a coming back together of the marital unit.
Either before or after the disaster has been resolved.
That's right. But, yeah, the box ticking happened, but the gaps in it were... It was just a mess.
And it hasn't made its budget back, so that sequel that Roland is apparently champing at the bit to make will not happen. There is no chance.
I'm trying to think of where that... Oh, okay, so he's still got... Yeah. No, I think he's done his dash.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because normally I quite enjoy if you go in with the frame of mind that this is what you're in for. Usually when you ask for chocolate ice cream with sprinkles on top and you get given chocolate ice cream and sprinkles on top, you are not disappointed because you got what you asked for and what you were expecting. But yeah, I think this was asked for chocolate ice cream with sprinkles on top and you got vanilla with a bit of flake not quite stuck in it and the cone with the bottom broken off. It was yeah.
In other films that are not good, I watched the 2010 Jack Black vehicle Gulliver's Travels.
Oh my goodness. I cannot make any comments on that because that has not even... I'm well aware of it happening, but there has been absolutely no desire whatsoever to watch that. What on earth possessed you to watch that?
Corridor Digital does a series about great and bad VFX.
Yep.
Which are both in full force in the film Gulliver's Travels. It's largely watchable. There is one joke that does not play to me at all.
Right.
Gulliver takes a leak on a burning building.
Good.
And that just wasn't funny to me.
It wouldn't have been funny to the people around because that smells.
No.
That stinks. Urine on fires, just, yeah. How do I know these things?
Otherwise, the film was watchable, and that's all I can really say about it.
Going back to Moonfall, I think the other thing that frustrated me was that the effects in that were incredibly variable. Yeah.
And watch out for the space shuttle protected by Kaspersky? Kaspersky? It doesn't matter. They're Russian and bad.
Oh, Thomas, that's a spoiler. There are people out there who I'm sure have not watched Moonfall, and you've spoiled it for them. Anything else you've been up to? I'm going to...
No, not really.
Normally I edit out your... I'm not going to this time. It's staying in. Yeah.
No, not really.
No.
Just, I had to rejigger my order for the Senate voting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do mine too.
Yeah. Things happened. Things came out about candidates who I thought were relatively inoffensive. And then
okay.
Turned out not to be.
We'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah. No, that's about it.
I mean, not here. Not on the podcast.
No.
This isn't a political podcast. Written, spoken and authorised by Colin. And I meant to give my address, but I'm not going to.
No, see, it's opinion. It's opinion,
okay.
And so it doesn't have to be authorised. The authorisation requirements are very complicated.
Yes. Okay, so your Senate ticket. Did you see the link that I gave on Facebook for a quick way of doing that?
Yes, and I have used that this time.
Right.
Because I'm not erasing all the pencil marks. Quite a few numbers would have to be erased and then rewritten. Yeah. What about you?
What about me? Apart from my walking, I'm trying to eat a little better and trying to exercise a little more because I'm carrying way too much excess baggage. That's why the 3 days have been like it is, but it's been a bit of a shock to the system, but it's been nice. It meant that I saw a bandicoot today, right in suburbia, which was pretty cool. And I donated plasma. It was my 90th blood product donation. Other than that, same as far as the films are concerned, apart from Gullible's Travels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not good.
I believe I have seen the movie that we are watching today once, possibly on television. So it's a bit of an unknown, but it doesn't have unknown people in it.
No.
What are we watching today?
We are watching The Mosquito Coast.
Which you have not seen.
I've not, no.
No, it was one of those movies that was, I guess, everyone was excited for all the big names, and it sort of came and went.
To the point where the special features are interactive menus and scene access. Which I'm sure would be special features to people who fairly recently were working with VHS, but...
It is probably going to look very much menu-wise like...
Yeah, I could see it being somewhat Little Nikita-ish.
Yes. So, Mosquito Coast, starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren? No?
Yes.
Helen Mirren.
And River Phoenix.
And
Martha Plimpton. Who doesn't get front of the box billing.
No, but I believe this is where Martha Plimpton and River Phoenix first came in contact with each other. And that's what we're watching. Would you please give our dear listener a plot synopsis if you can read it in amongst the jungle?
Yes.
It's white text on top of a sort of a bunch of trees, branches and leaves and things like that.
It's mostly dark green with spots of white throughout it.
Yes. Good luck with that.
Yeah, which is great for white text.
It is.
Ali Fox is fed up with an America that buys junk, sells junk, eats junk. So with a mocking, "Goodbye, America, have a nice day," the brilliant inventor, 9 patents, 6 pending, leads his trusting wife and 4 children into the remote jungles of Central America to carve out a new society. And that's the plot section.
That's the plot section, and then they drop a whole heap of names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
The disc is already in the player. In fact, it looks like it's decided to start itself.
It's 14 minutes in.
We're going to have to wind her back. In fact, we could flip it onto its flip side and... No,
I'm not sure that would work.
No.
Muppets from Space? It totally work.
Oh, that's got the widescreen.
Because it has the widescreen
and
on the other side.
on the other side, right.
But this isn't.
No.
So we'll rewind it.
We will. We're going to watch this film. We'll then talk about it afterwards. So we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
No, we're not going to do that. You just said if we turn it to side B, it wouldn't work.
No, the podcast. Turn the podcast to side B.
Then it would be backwards.
Yes, it probably would. Ole, aye.
Mongrel. So, what did you think? As he reaches for his copious notes.
It has some interesting things to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm largely receptive to the messages it's putting out. I don't think I enjoyed it though.
Uh-huh. I confess, when watching it, making a comparison to Moonfall, of all things.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you imagine the dot-to-dot puzzles where you join number 1 to number 2 to number 3 to number 4. I found in Moonfall there were 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. and so you're missing whole swathes of dots. So it just doesn't connect well together. Whereas this had 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2, 2.3. It joined absolutely every dot for you all the way through it and spelt everything out. It was like reading Dickens, who was paid by the word. So why use one word when you can use 27? And a lot of this film felt very much like everything had to be spelt out for you. You know, every knot had to be shown to be tied, and where it could have just been, you know, the introductions to characters just dragged on, and the introduction to the motivations were a lot lengthier than was possibly necessary. But as you say, you know, the message was good, the acting was good, I thought, but it just dragged. I found there were brief moments of excitement, but certainly the storyline parallels were spread on thick, I thought. You've got this religious zealot and all that was bad about that. And you've got this fanatic zealot who and all the bad things that go with that.
So many flavours of colonialism. Take your pick.
Both of them built a church, essentially. There's something to worship. And both of them burnt down or exploded. I felt the parallelism between those two men was quite heavy-handed. It smacked you in the face every time that it had a possibility of doing so. So that you really ended up disliking both of them for much the same reason.
They're both wrong.
Yeah.
They're both wrong. Wait.
And they're both hurting people in their wrongness. Their obsessiveness is ruining people's lives.
We have to stop assuming that, one, people out in the boonies need saving, and two, that we have a solution if they do need saving.
Yep. And everything that Ali despised about America, he basically made a little America in. He was the provider of the ice and wanted the appreciation for providing it, and then tried to sell it to the Eskimos, essentially.
Yeah.
And as far as the commitment that he demanded of everyone was just as soul-crushing as the religious zealot was to those who lived wonderful, simple lives and had the extra layer of complexity thrust upon them. But in both cases, the fervour of it, the charisma of the two men affected the people around them until people started realising that, no, this isn't what we need to follow, I guess. I found my note.
You found your note?
My note. Nice opening font usage. The credits, both the opening and closing, used nice type font design and very simple and didn't age at all. This is 1986. And other than size, where these days you need to have the font really, really small for the credits to not go for, they still tend to go for long periods of time.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, but that was my note. Nice opening font usage.
Harrison Ford's character here, Ali Fox, a little racist, I want to say. Yeah. It was interesting, again, the reflection of what he tells his kid at the beginning. I don't want to hear you call someone that, referring to a race, and then later on. All at once, he's decrying the excesses of America and yelling at the hardware store worker for giving him Japanese instead of American rubber seals.
Yeah.
And
he was a complex man. A whole range of contradictions, and I'm doing this because I love you, as he destroys his family, basically, and makes them hate him. So, racist and...
He calls a lot of people savages.
Yeah.
And totally alienates himself from the only people with any actual loyalty to him.
Yeah. I do have to say... There we go. I do have to say... His was possibly the least convincing performance in this. I found sometimes he was delivering lines rather than acting, I guess. There were just times where I wasn't convinced he was Ali. And some of that was that some of the lines that he had to deliver were pretty average in places. The montage of the construction where he's delivering the spiel to the guy who was following him back and forth.
All these things
not understanding any of
about
it. And, yeah, some of it was just quite forced and too long. We got the idea after the first sentence, and there were 40 more to go to emphasise the point.
And then we have to play on the length of his spiel by putting it under a deafening chainsaw.
Yes.
Like, you know you're going on for too long. And you still play that joke?
Yeah. It was an uneven, long film that had its... I don't know. I'm trying to... It was a film. It was...
Yeah.
I like the music. Maurice Jarre, French composer. Very, very prolific film score. I did a lot for David Lean, Lawrence of Arabia, some whole heap of other ones. It was a good soundtrack and mixed in well, and interestingly, it was all electronic, but felt right. The contrast between being in the middle of the jungle and hearing an electronic soundtrack, but electronic in the way of it was an electronic orchestration. So the synthesizers were orchestral rather than in-your-face electronic.
I don't think it struck me as particularly 80s in the same way that other soundtracks of the same era.
Yes, a lot of 80s, and especially 80s synth soundtracks, have not aged well. And that was fine. It was the least of this film's worries, I think.
To be clear, sometimes it's okay when an 80s synth soundtrack doesn't age well. Sometimes it fits just perfectly with the feel if it hasn't aged well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There was none of that.
No. No. Well, that's, I'm all out of notes.
Oh, you're out of notes?
Yeah.
I'm out of notes too. I've got nothing else to say about this film. It was...
We saw the folly of man.
Yes.
And
had it pushed into our faces. Yeah, very heavy-handed in places. All right, no, we're looping around the same old thing. So we might move on.
The following segment has no title. Thank you. All I've got is an emoji reaction on the post I made on Discord. You know, that little thing that has confetti coming out of it. The cone.
Oh, right.
Cone with confetti coming out of it.
Yep.
That's it. That's the entirety of our engagement for this week.
Right. Does the party popper operator have a name?
I believe it was Nosferatu. And that is the sum of our engagement after last week's absolute bumper.
Yeah, look, we should have spread out last week's comments. So, just to let you all know, I did change the file name this time around. So this episode does have a file sitting right in front of me on my lap. 6 letters condensing down the name of the Mosquito Coast.
I would have gone for something else, but I'm also operating under different rules, so...
You are, and I don't always obey my rules either, so who knows? Have a go.
Yeah.
Make a suggestion. All right, we'll move on then.
Pick a film for next week, so we can go to bed.
It's your turn.
It is my turn.
You might have some more options.
I do have slightly more options, but I'm not going with those new options.
Interesting.
Those new options might come up at any point.
Okay,
but I haven't actually added them to my list.
Right,
yet.
You're throwing them into the pot, though.
We'll see what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's vaguely topical. This film's from 1986.
So the same year as the movie that we've just watched. Oh, that was the other thing that I was going to say, speaking of 1986. So this was the same year that River Phoenix starred in Stand By Me.
Right.
The reason that I double-checked was I was thinking, which came first, Stand By Me or Mosquito Coast? Because either way, surely he has learnt that in deep muddy water there's going to be giant leeches. Both films, there are giant leeches in the muddy water, and he didn't learn. And they were both made in the same year. Stand By Me actually came first. So he doubly should have learnt, because...
How big's that gap? Are we talking months?
I have no idea.
Weeks?
Well, it's really hard to tell, because these are release dates. That the year that the film is released, so trying to work out when they were made is a little tricky, so who knows. So, same year, 1986?
1986.
Right.
Starring Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay. Are we going into the danger zone?
Well, I don't know. Does say danger zone in this description here?
Wow. Have you seen this film?
I've not, no.
That is quite topical.
Yeah.
Because I seem to suspect that the film you're going to suggest has a sequel.
It does.
This film came out in 1986.
It did.
What year did the sequel come out?
That's not currently on my screen right now.
I would hazard a guess 2022.
Yeah, it's not even come out in the US yet.
It hasn't. If I am guessing the film that you're guessing, you're suggesting is the one that I'm thinking, are you thinking Top Gun?
I am thinking of Top Gun.
Oh, we're in for a treat, Thomas. Would you be so kind as to tell our dear listener the plot synopsis on the back of the Blu-ray? I think it is.
Yes, it is a Blu-ray.
It was a Blu-ray cheapo that I grabbed, but have not watched. I have watched the film, but I've not watched the Blu-ray, and it wouldn't have been too many years after it originally came out that I last saw it, so it has been a very, very long time.
And then you picked it up in, that seems like post-database change. August 2015?
Yeah.
That's post-database change, right?
Yeah.
So it's been sitting on the shelf ever since.
Yep.
Here is the description on the back of the case. In the role that made him one of the world's biggest stars, Tom Cruise rides into the danger zone in the smash hit film that defined the modern-day blockbuster. Cruise plays Maverick, a hotshot flyer who is sent to the Navy's prestigious Top Gun program. But in order to become the best of the best, he'll need the help of his wingman and newfound love. Two separate people. Two separate people, to be clear. Co-starring
1986. That's very edgy.
Yeah.
For Tom Cruise. That's
co-starring Val Kilmer. This high-octane hit will take your breath away.
Oh dear. We really are in for a treat, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, special features include a vintage gallery with 4 music videos.
It was quite heavy on the top hits.
Danger Zone, Take My Breath Away, Heaven in Your Eyes, and Top Gun Anthem, which apparently needed a music video.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's making me think of all that we've said in this podcast about 1980s music. Yeah.
Are we about to experience
We are going to experience 1980s with a bullet.
In 1080p 5.1?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We will just ramp up the subwoofer and turn on the afterburners.
Oh, that's very helpful. Subtitles listed as English.
Mm-hmm.
English subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing. And various subtitles.
Good.
Yeah. Real variety pack.
We hope that you can join us next week when we watch Top Gun in French, German, Spanish, Italian.
Well, audio-wise, it's just English 5.1, English 6.1, French 5.1, Spanish 5.1.
Okay.
So I assume French. There's at least French and Spanish subtitles in there somewhere. But
don't count on it.
No.
We shall find out next week when we watch Top Gun. We hope you can join us. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
What a fortuitous coincidence. My Movies.
Just in time to watch the sequel.
Yeah, the sequel that is 1986 to 2022, that's 36 years.
It's a little while. What's really scary is how much Tom Cruise hasn't aged.
No, he sure doesn't, does he?
Which is why the following week I'm thinking of suggesting we watch one of the versions of The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cruise plays Maverick, a hotshot flyer who is sent to the Navy's prestigious